By on bonny banks and by on bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, where me and me true love were ever wont to gape, on the bonny, bonny banks o' Loch Lomond. Take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland afore ye. But me and my true love will never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks o' Loch Lomond. And the world knows not how we But me and my true love will never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch perviam, ovos omnes, retransitis perviam, ovos omnes, attendite, videte, ovos omnes,
The Sounds of South with Gwen Whitten Upchurch. Phenomenal. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Susan Sandberg, the current president of the Bloomington City Council, and it is my pleasure to call this special session to order. Tonight's State of the City for February 16th, 2007. At this time, I will ask the Bloomington City Clerk, Nicole Bolden, to please call our roll.
Good evening. So to begin, Susan Sandberg.
Here.
Dorothy Granger. Tim Mayer. Here. Isabel Piedmont-Smith. Here. Dave Rollo. Here. Andy Ruff. Here. Chris Sturbaum. Here. And Steve Bolin. Here. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
One more announcement. The meeting will be officially adjourned at the end of the Honorable Mayor of Bloomington, John Hamilton's remarks. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm going to read you a poem, and I've been thinking hard about inclusivity, about tenderness, about openness, about sharing. This poem is called To the Fig Tree on 9th and Christian, and in some way it's inspired largely by this group in town called the Bloomington Community Orchard, which many of you know. And that project has been such an amazing exploration and interrogation of what it means to be a neighbor, what it means to be, what it means to care for one another. It's a sort of imagining, as I see it, and a steady, sort of trying to figure out how better to imagine ourselves neighbors to one another and caretakers of one another through these beautiful trees. And there's a great story that I love to tell about, which is that we at the beginning of the orchard, when we were building the site and designing the site, there was this question about, do we put a lock on the orchard? In the Bloomington Community Orchard, do we put a lock on it? And we didn't. To the Fig Tree on 9th and Christian. Tumbling through the city in my mind without once looking up, the racket in the lug work, probably rehearsing some stupid thing I said or did, some crime or other. The city, they say, is a lonely place until, yes, the sound of sweeping and a woman, yes, with a broom, beneath which you are now too, the canopy of a fig, its arms pulling the September sun to it. And she has a hose too, and so works hard, rinsing and scrubbing the walk, lest some poor sod slip on the silk of a fig and break his hip and not probably reach over to gobble up the perpetrator. The light catches the veins in her hands. When I ask about the tree, they flutter in the air, and she says, take as much as you can, please help me. So I load my pockets and mouth, and she points to the step ladder against the wall to mean more, but I was without a sack, so my meager plunder would have to suffice. And an old woman whom gravity was pulling into the earth loosed one from a low-slung branch, and its eye wept like hers, which she dabbed with a kerchief as she cleaved the fig with what remained of her teeth. And soon there were 8 or 9 people gathered beneath the tree, looking into it like a constellation, pointing, do you see it? And I am tall, and so good for these things. And a bald man even told me so, when I grabbed 3 or 4 for him, reaching into the giddy throngs of yellow jackets, Sugarstone, which he only pointed to, smiling and rubbing his stomach. I mean, he was really rubbing his stomach, like there was a baby in there. It was hot. His head shone while he offered recipes to the group using words which I couldn't understand. And besides, I was a little tipsy on the dance of the velvety heart rolling in my mouth, pulling me down and down into the oldest countries of my body, where I ate my first fig from the hand of a man who escaped his country by swimming through the night, and maybe never said more than 5 words to me at once, but gave me figs. And a man on his way to work hops twice to reach at last his fig, which he smiles at and calls baby. Come here, baby, he says, and blows a kiss to the tree, which everyone knows cannot grow this far north, being Mediterranean and favoring the rocky, sun-baked soils of Jordan and Sicily. But no one told the fig tree or the immigrants. There was a way the fig tree grows in groves. It wants, it seems, to hold us. Yes, I am anthropomorphizing, goddammit. I have twice in the last 30 seconds rubbed my sweaty forearm into someone else's sweaty shoulder, gleeful, eating out of each other's hands on Christian Street in Philadelphia, a city like most which has murdered its own people. This is true. We are feeding each other from a tree at the corner of Christian and 9th. Strangers maybe never again. Thank you.
At this height, all you see is possibility. You look down and see the earth beneath your feet, humming with motion. A little perspective changes what you think is possible. Yes, there are challenges ahead of us. They will test us, but they will unite us. These challenges and how we face them will be the legacy we leave. New places for folks to live, to work, to play. A city that understands safety, civility, and justice go hand in hand. That doesn't see its citizens as dots on a map, but parts of a whole who are connected through technology, community, and culture. A living commitment to respect the dignity of all. To make a place for everyone. Those values, these things that define us, make us stronger. Ready to face whatever comes next. The challenges on the road ahead. We've faced uncertainty before and come through shining. Now is our time to carry the torch. Opportunity abounds, and all we have to do is seize it. Here to deliver the State of the City Address, Mayor John Hamilton.
Thank you very much. Thank you, President of Council Sandberg, all the City Council members, all elected officials. Thank you for being here. Representatives I know from Indiana University, Ivy Tech, Monroe County School Corporation, the Office of the Mayor, staff who have worked very hard for this evening. I appreciate that. And especially let me thank the 700 workers every day, every hour doing their part in our city. People work very hard and they deserve recognition. Thank you. And thank you for being here. And those watching on CATS, thank you for caring about your city government and our future path. I just have to thank Sounds of South. That was just spectacular music. Oh my gosh. And I did have a son singing up there too, which was fun. And thank you so much to Professor Ross Gay, a treasure of IU in Bloomington. We appreciate your being here tonight. Thank you. And to the filmmaker Tom Miller and narrator Francesca Sobre, I appreciate that. And to my dear wife Dawn, thank you for being part of all this life together. So, not quite 20 years ago, Robin Chase was sitting around Boston thinking about how she wanted more mobility, but she just didn't really want to own a second car in the family. She and a friend thought, how cool would it be if we could have a convenient way to share a car among ourselves and other friends? Her friend had been in Berlin, where she had seen something like that in action, and before long, Robin and her friends founded Zipcar. It started as one green VW bug named Betsy. There's Betsy. Betsy was parked in front of Robin's house, and she had a key hidden under a pillow on her porch, and there was a piece of paper in Betsy's glove box, and you wrote down when you took the car and when you brought it back. 16 years later, Zipcar has 10,000 cars and 1 million members around the world, including here in Bloomington, and has revolutionized with others how we move around, especially young people, and including me. I got one of them. The more we can do to reduce individual car trips and increase and make more affordable the shared economy, the better. Now, Robin's story of Zipcar is charming and inspiring. I share tonight especially because of what Robin has said about that process. When Zipcar began, there were lots of reasons to think that sharing cars wouldn't work very well. Robin's mantra was, trust people, believe in honesty, think people are good, trust in those things. By doing so, you make them happen. And she did those things and did make it happen. Most directly, she said, let's build the world we want to live in. Let's build the world we want to live in. For us, that starts with, let's create the city that we want to live in. It's up to us. It's not the federal government, it's not state government, it's not the media, the bloggers, the dividers, the fearmongers. We'll talk more about some of them in a bit, but it's us. In these challenging, scary times, it's our time. Now, Bloomington is full of people like Robin Chase. People thinking about how our city ought to operate or how people ought to relate to each other. People helping refugees resettle and working hard to welcome more, helping homeless get a home, helping the addicted get treatment, helping protect children and animals, and helping our planet and starting a business and more. Now, I'm not ignorant of reality and pressures, what we can control locally and what we cannot. But I believe we must do what we can do. We must believe in people and work for the future. So I'd like to do 3 things together with you tonight. Let's review 2016 and what we've done together. Then let's talk a little bit about 2017 and where we're headed. And finally, I'd like to think with you about the extraordinarily challenging political environment in which all this is happening and Bloomington's role in it. I like the bridge over troubled water. That was a good metaphor. And neighbors, good neighbors. So, on my first day as mayor, January 1st last year, I loosely borrowed from Dr. Seuss and Horton the Who, and I said, I believe government needs to say what we'll do and do what we say. That's a basic rule. Last year in the State of the City address, I outlined several significant challenges facing our city. The economy, crime and public safety, lack of investments in infrastructure, challenges in city operations, sanitation and water quality at that time, for example, lack of attention to employee training and skills, and threats to our public education system. I also pointed out 2 structural challenges needing attention of annexation and regionalism. Now, Dawn and I went to dozens and dozens of house parties, and I've had lots of conversations with people inside and outside the city and identified 4 key areas of emphasis for us going forward. Saying what we'll do to respond to the challenges such as these and pursue the opportunities. Those 4 areas talked about last time were jobs in the economy, affordable housing, public education, and innovative and transparent government. So, how did 2016 go? What did we do what we said? Here's some highlights. On jobs in the economy and the underlying quality of life issues there, we activated the Trades District with 3 projects thus far, including the announced North American Headquarters and Design Center of TASIS. A wage growth task force developed 6 strong specific recommendations to move us toward a more equitable, dynamic economy for all. And you'll hear more about those specifics in the weeks ahead. We approved plans and a schedule for the new Switchyard Park, which will enhance our quality of life and economic vitality for generations. We're working closely with IU Health and IU itself to plan for the largest investment planned in Bloomington's economy in decades, the Regional Academic Health Center, as well as the transition from the current hospital site. Regional collaborations grew as we worked with the county, the Regional Opportunity Initiative, and more, and we made great strides on the exciting citywide broadband fiber project, which I'll discuss more in a moment. On affordable housing, with the City Council, we created a new housing development fund to let us make significant local investments in affordable homes. With several new projects announced, we also created or supported new affordable units, including Evergreen for low-income seniors and PEDCOR at the Trades District for low-income renters. Crawford 2 is adding more permanent supportive housing for the chronically homeless. Urban Station is creating permanently affordable downtown workforce housing. And for the first time with Dunhill, investors in market-rate, transit-oriented student apartments will be funding affordable units as well. Now, beyond those projects, we're still continuing to advocate for and seeking to experiment with tiny homes, accessory dwelling units, and an inclusionary zoning approach. 2016 saw lots of work as well on the city's new all-important comprehensive master plan, which will be presented this year. Now, on the third, on public education, all I want to say is thank you, Bloomington, because the critical referendum was passed with 81% of the vote. Thanks to all who worked on that and supported the investment in our future. Now, fourth, both transparency and innovation are fundamental in our government. We've been working hard at that. We created Be Clear and a dashboard to share dozens of data sets with more every month to help the public know and analyze what's going on in every facet of government, from finances to public safety to streets and parks and animal welfare. It's your government, it's your information. We've held weekly public availabilities, either myself or department heads at the farmers market and many other venues. I've also scheduled weekly one-on-one meetings with any resident on any topic they choose. And we operate an anonymous tip line where anyone can share helpful information to the city. Mark that down if you need it. I've insisted that our administration always shares information, whether it's good or bad, like we've done over the past year with the water quality challenges we had, with non-working parking meters, with the ever-changing timing on I-69 construction, and more. I convened an outside fiscal task force and implemented their report to assure tight controls to prevent fraud and waste. And an innovation task force recommended a new department and innovation fund to support change and experimentation. With council support, we've also made historic investments in public safety equipment and our water and utility infrastructure. And it's gratifying that after extensive collaborative dialogue, a new 4-year labor contract was approved by our firefighters and the city administration going forward. So that's a lot, I know. Beyond these 4 categories, let me just share a few of the many examples, just a few of the good activity around us. At the animal shelter, from 2015 to 2016, we had a 40% reduction in euthanasia rates and a 40% increase in foster homes taking at-risk animals. That's fantastic. More than 2,300 animals were adopted in 2016, 100 more than in 2015. We promised an announcement tonight, and this is one. We have just approved the design and a $2 million upgrade to the animal shelter for the next generations of services for animals and all our scores of employees and volunteers. Look forward to that. Locally, lots is going on solar power. Sirens and others' efforts have been fantastic. During 2016, Bloomington solar installations went up 20% from 150 to 180. Our solar production in town went up 35% in 1 year to nearly 1.5 megawatts. And as the city installs solar on our police station and on the Showers building, we expect in 2017, this year, to see another 30% growth in solar production in Bloomington. Woo! That is good. That's big. Perhaps even more exciting, as we've offered wholesale rates for the panels to individuals, we've had more than 250 people attend information sessions, and nearly 90 have signed expressions of interest for the shared purchase program. That's fantastic. Public art flourishes too. As just one example, 3 new public-private partnerships for beautiful murals with Vectron, Bicycle Garage in Civil Street, and Rhinos Youth added more than 600 linear feet of outdoor art to brighten our city. That's terrific too. Thank you. That's a lot of feet. We should all be very proud of the progress we've made and the momentum we are building together. As it has been my privilege to see up close, the people of Bloomington can have confidence and take pride in your government, its work ethic, expertise, and values. Your city employees, we all work for you, your city council. Could I ask the members of the city council to stand up, please? Don't hold your applause. Please hold your applause just a minute. Stand up, members of city council. Thank you. Stay up. Let's see them. And then I'd like to ask the very hardworking department heads of city government to stand up. Please hold your applause. Stay standing. Department heads, come on, get up. They're all in a corner over there, I guess. Now, if I could, please stay. I want to ask anybody who's a city employee who's in here, please stand up tonight, if you would. Come on up. Let's go. We know you're here. All right. Now, keep up. Now, any volunteer on a city board and commission, if any of you's on a city board or commission volunteering, please stand up. All right. Keep it going. Now, hang on. We have great nonprofit and civic organizations. So if any of you has volunteered with or worked with a civic or nonprofit organization in town, please stand up. Come on. I know that's a lot more. All right. Come on, come on. Now, lastly, if any of you have attended a city council meeting, this is a city council meeting, please stand up. You're stretching. I want you to stretch a little bit. Come on. This is Bloomington Strong, Bloomington United. Give yourself a hand. This is Bloomington. All right, thank you. We might have needed a stretch. I don't know. So 2016 was a very busy year for all of us in city government, and 2017, I promise you, we will be keeping up the pace. We have a lot on our plates going forward. Let me itemize just some of the issues and opportunities I'm confident we'll be addressing in 2017. On the jobs and economy in the trades district, we'll keep our focus on job growth, and the new regional academic health center and current hospital site will receive serious community planning. In my view, we also must expand the downtown convention center in full partnership with our county government and in a high-quality, architecturally significant way. It is a critical downtown asset, and the I-69 corridor, in fact, is a new threat to downtown civic viability. As I've previously outlined, our community would also benefit from more creative financing partners for small business, affordable housing, the energy, and nonprofit sectors. So I'm excited about a second announcement this evening, that in collaboration with the Community Foundation, the city will work to establish an independent community development financial institution, a CDFI, to help meet those needs. Together, the city and the Community Foundation have committed $150,000 to support commitment of a CDFI that can partner with existing financial institutions to accelerate job creation, sustainable, affordable housing, and our clean energy and nonprofit sectors. I want to express my appreciation and thanks for the Community Foundation's leadership in joining this entrepreneurial local effort. Thank you. Now, with changes coming from I-69, eventually, our full regional engagement and integrated planning with our county and regional partners is critical. Charting our course forward will be essential in the upcoming master plan, the Unified Development Ordinance, and more this year. My last word for the evening on jobs and the economy is broadband. World-class digital connectivity is the 21st century equivalent of the 20th century's electricity and water. After extensive work with community partners and an international review process, last December, I announced a potential collaboration with Axia, a visionary digital infrastructure company. We're glad to have several folks from Axia here tonight. We're in the middle of a very important process to determine Bloomington's digital future. Axia is actively researching and engineering a citywide, open access, gigabit speed fiber network for Bloomington residents. If that engineering is successful, which we should know within a few weeks, then it will be up to us as a community to indicate whether we want to go this direction. Again, if the engineering is successful, Axia will conduct an expression of interest campaign here in town in which we all, residents, will indicate whether we are interested in their construction of this network. There's more to come on that, but I will be asking for your support in enabling Bloomington to make real progress and be a model city in reducing the digital divide that continues to threaten our equity and opportunity. On affordable housing, what I can say is we must continue and redouble our efforts. We've made incremental progress, but I look forward to working closely with the City Council to implement and experiment with new approaches. This is a fundamental challenge that we have to take head on. How to assure Bloomington is a city that works for people from all walks of life. We are not where we were a year ago, but we're not where we need to be. We need to be more imaginative, more persistent, more open-minded about what can work in this Indiana's most expensive housing market. Thank you. So our efforts to build a more innovative and transparent government will continue. Earlier this week, just this week, the Sanitation Work Group released recommendations for implementing the modernization of our sanitation system. 2017 should see the beginning of weekly recycling pickup. Weekly recycling pickup. Oh, it's good. Automated equipment to protect our workforce, continued volume-based pricing for trash, and implementation of direct billing to eliminate the need for those stickers. Okay. Last night in a late night, the City Council, at my request, began the process formally to consider the first major annexation in our city for a generation. I am committed to transparency on this, as all matters, and we have a lot of discussion ahead. Let me assure you, we will all work together on these issues in the months and years ahead. It is about creating the community we want to live in, efficient and well planned for the future, coordinating well all the layers of government. Bloomington has done this together many times in our 199-year history, and I am confident we will work together for a good outcome. Public safety will continue to be a fundamental focus. Just last week, police and fire chiefs Dekoff and Moore jointly reported on public safety in 2016. 2017 will see recommendations continuing from the Downtown Task Force. I applaud, and I hope you will too, the outstanding efforts of our public safety employees and our wider community. I encourage all of us to continue to work together toward a more safe, civil, and just Bloomington. Thank you for all they do to public safety. We will continue to invest in our city employees. We budget at least 1% of payroll for training. For the first time in many years, all employees are receiving performance evaluations. We are instituting a 360-degree review process for all our city managers, and I sincerely thank the council in 2007 for supporting a living wage with benefits for all full-time city employees. That's good. With the council, we also continue responsible investment in infrastructure of equipment and trails, roads, sidewalks, intersections. New data like the overall condition index maps for streets and sidewalks will help all of us mark our progress and set our priorities. Data on how long it takes to fill a pothole helps us assure continuous improvement there and elsewhere. And finally, at this very moment, scientific surveys are in the hands of 3,000 randomly chosen residents to give us our first objective data about attitudes, goals, priorities, and more. Results will be public and discussed in the weeks ahead. I'm excited to work with council and all of you to learn from and act on that information. So these are all areas I'm confident we'll be addressing and working on together. It's a very significant, perhaps unprecedented combination of activities and opportunities. I'm energized to continue our progress as we experiment, learn, fail, improve, create, borrow, repeat, all together. And there's one more thing we need to be working on in 2017. Because this time next year, when we're gathered together, we will be commencing our bicentennial year as a city and county. We turn 200 years old in 2018. So hold on to your hats. We've got a lot to celebrate at age 200. All right. Take a breath. Think about all that we're doing together, what we've done, what we're planning here in Bloomington. I want to talk at closing about Bloomington and our place in the world. Of course, what we do here matters a great deal to us, but it matters to more than just us. It matters to the rest of the state, to the country, indeed to the world, and it matters to future generations. Step back a minute and think about the context of the state and national government. Now, I'm not a historian, and it's hard to see history while you're in the middle of it, but it seems to me we're still in a major struggle that dates all the way back to our nation's founding about the role of government in what they called our great experiment. During the past century, in the New Deal, an active government was essentially the partner, supporter of the people. In the Reagan-Gingrich eras, government was explicitly named as an enemy of progress. Overall, it was and is a debate about the power of government, of we the people, to improve lives, to increase opportunity and justice, to do good. I can't help note that in the 20th century, our federal government led success in the face of three threats to our way of life and our very existence: the global depression of the 30s, the fascist movements that led to World War II, and the Cold War and communist ideologies. And oh yes, we averted potential global nuclear destruction. Despite these great achievements, that's good, we're glad about that. And despite these great achievements and many, many more, some still think of government as the enemy of our own future and progress. And today, the party that has been so hostile to the positive role of government is at its most powerful position across the country in 100 years. So today, we are in a very challenging political environment. How's that for an understatement? I think I know where our minds go first. But let's start closer to home. State government seems bound and determined to control local decisions from Indianapolis, tying our hands against common sense approaches we would choose to take. About guns, as I wrote about last year, decrying pistols at our pools and machine guns on parade, or with the campus carry proposals now. Plastic bag bans, sanctuary city bans, annexation restrictions, shared car and shared rental unit controls, property maintenance controls, local transit funding restrictions, or possibly prohibiting solar net metering or affordable housing strategies like inclusionary zonings, and on and on. It's exasperating. maddening that a state legislature wants to act like a city council. Let me say this clearly to the state legislature in Indianapolis. We have a great city council in Bloomington. Please just let them do their work. Let the state focus on the basics it should do, like how about taking care of the state's infrastructure, including completing the road we drive to and from Indianapolis? How about protecting LGBTQ rights and health care and passing hate crime legislation and fair legislative districts? How about protecting basic reproductive rights? How about investing appropriately in real public schools and pre-K support? That would be a decent focus. And our federal government. Frankly, my friends, we are headed into uncharted waters. Dangerous and uncharted waters. In the 28 days of the new administration, we have seen incredible threats to our national future and continued statements of bigotry and misogyny and fear-mongering and alternative facts. I don't know where we're ultimately headed, but I hear terrible threats and attempts, plans for border walls, human roundups and deportations, deregulation of industry and re-regulation of our most personal decisions, disregard for the courts and laws, and apparent high regard for Russian despots and the alt-right. I hear plans to cripple public education and climate change protection. Alternative facts are repeated ad nauseum while science is ignored. And for goodness sakes, can we at least make sure they hear our demand to quit threatening to destroy century-old Planned Parenthood? So, I don't know where we're ultimately headed. But I do know this. Bloomington didn't change on November 8th or January 20th. Our values and our people, we remain who we are, with respect for all, with diversity in our DNA, with compassion and commitment to justice. We will not shrink, we will not falter, we will not fail in Bloomington. We know better in Bloomington. We know better in Bloomington. We know that at its best, government, on behalf of all of us in the community, provides the foundation for the beautiful work and activities of diverse, creative, caring individuals and families and organizations that make up our community and define our future. Our government protects our safety with police and fire and regulations. It invests in our basic institutions like public education, transportation, energy, and it protects our liberties and freedoms so we all can think, worship, speak, love, travel, dream, and create as we wish. Yes, Bloomington is a special place. Bloomington is a wonderful place. There is no place just like us. But we're not alone. We are not isolated. In fact, we are in a great big family of American cities working to create fulfilling lives and opportunities. American cities are the engines of our national economy and the creative centers of our diverse culture. I believe American cities can change the world. Together we are changing the world. And like in our families, we're proud of our siblings. We're very proud of our sibling cities, what so many of them are doing across the country. If you read or watch what mayors all across the U.S. are saying in speeches a lot like this, you'll hear local funded pre-K in Dayton, affordable housing focus in Austin, safety for refugees and immigrants in San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York and Chicago, distributed local power grids in Boulder. We need to be part of that movement of leading from the bottom up. We are stronger knowing there's a movement. We won't have the same help from the federal or state government. The challenges we face in cities, we must embrace as opportunities and responsibilities. And, you know, we in Bloomington, aren't we right in the middle of these challenges? Right at the center of the debate about our country's direction? We're a blue city in a red state. What better place than a progressive university city with a manufacturing history in a Midwestern state, a welcoming and creative environment at a sustainable scale with an urban-rural mix? What better place to show how we can succeed together? I like a book called Small, Gritty, and Green. Bloomington is small, gritty, and green, or can be. Small enough size to get things done at a good human scale with a great and convenient quality of life. Gritty. We know how to make things full of practical sense with a strong infrastructure of streets and utilities that we can build on. We're green with an ever more sustainable economy with energy, food, transportation, given our scale and geography. And one more thing I'd add to that title. We're global, with people and connections from all over the world in our university and businesses and arts and organizations. We have a big future ahead of us. And let me just suggest briefly a few items I would ask us to think together about locally. I'm looking to the City Council, to the institutions in our community, to all of you as individuals. I don't know if we will tackle these in 2017, but I want to encourage us to challenge us to consider them together. Local water. We're halfway through Lake Monroe's 100-year design life. We haven't done a serious study about its quality and protection for decades. Overall, our water resources deserve more attention and planning. Perhaps that could be part of a bicentennial effort. Second, local food. There are so many reasons to invest in local food and agriculture, economics and jobs, resilience, environmental, moral. Bloomington is wonderfully situated, surrounded by rural land. How can we increase our local food economy and local food consumption for jobs, for health, for sustainability? Perhaps supporting a food hub to strengthen both the producer and consumer side makes sense. Third, local energy. How do we accelerate the changing field of new energy and make it more affordable for more people? And consider larger installations like at our water utility plants, our reservoirs, using more localized production and microgrids. Can we build more resilience? And fourth, local pre-K efforts. The Wage Growth Task Force urged support for an increase of quality pre-K education in Bloomington. Some cities do this around the country. Perhaps our community should develop local support for more quality pre-K programs and more affordability to assure that every kid has a fair shot in our town. Those are just 4 ideas. No doubt you have plenty more. I have to say, I really like Bloomington's prospects. Nothing's automatic, but we are so well positioned. So today's institutions like Cook and IU and Ivy Tech and IU Health can thrive. And so also that tomorrow's innovative companies and organizations grow in Bloomington, from Secretly Group in the music business to NCS servicing a sophisticated research center and providing quantum computing materials to Envisage with cutting edge security software, 39 Degrees North and Cigital and Solution Tree to B-Town Diner and Lucky Guy Bakery to Lotus and Middleway House and Shalom and The Hub and Sprout Box and Upland and Uptown and so many more. We in Bloomington must create the community we want. We live in Indiana, we live in the United States, we live on planet Earth, but we primarily act here, together. We create and sustain a city where the artists, the entrepreneurs, the workers, the volunteers, the parents, the students, the shop owners, the dreamers, the teachers, the nurses, where we all live together. Now, I'll close with a reminder. Democracy is a relay race. Bloomington's story is a relay race. We are all relay runners in the great journey of democracy. And it's a long relay race, a series of marathons, the ultimate ultra marathon, striving toward more justice and opportunity and handing it off to the next generations. Indeed, there's no finish line, we hope. Sometimes during this relay race, the terrain is smooth and downhill, the weather is warm, the wind is at our backs. It's a beautiful run. But other times, our turn requires running up steep hills and through raging storms and strong headwinds and straight-out pain. Our forerunners ran through wars and global depression and slavery and a great deal more, but the relay hasn't stopped for 240 years. Now, today, we here help carry that torch, all of us. It's ironic, of course, that the Statue of Liberty, a statue of a woman holding the torch of liberty high, was dedicated at America's centennial when women didn't have the vote and wouldn't have it for another 45 years. They certainly didn't have liberty in America. For most of our history, we have kept many runners sidelined from democracy's relay race. To our perpetual damage and shame, our relay was run with generations of great Americans barred from the main track. People of color, women, Native Americans, immigrants, people of different faiths or no faith, LGBTQ+, people with disability. Now, when barred from the track, of course, people were still there, steadfastly pressing, urging their desire to be a full partner in the great relay. Our country's story and our city's story has been one of people demanding to be full partners, and our country and our city getting stronger and stronger as more and more join in the great relay. But we face difficult times now. Very difficult. I'm not sure what this next leg of our relay race will be like. Powerful forces are trying again to exclude some of us, to hold us back, drag us down. Make no mistake, we need all of us in this relay. And Bloomington, all Bloomingtonians must carry our baton proudly and high. Now, I know this too. I know we are good at this as a community. We are really good at getting through tough times and keeping the relay going. We've been through it, and we'll run through it together. I know last summer, a new lifeguard saved the life of a 5-year-old at a city pool. I know last week a firefighter administered a life-saving dose of naloxone. I know a downtown police officer helped a person in homelessness find a warm place to sleep. I know a group of high schoolers built a new home for a hard-working family. I know hundreds of people are ready to open their homes and hearts to refugees seeking peace. I know a woman in danger found a safe place for herself and her family in our town. And I know thousands of Bloomingtonians are sending emails and writing checks and calling offices and volunteering and rallying in plazas and marching in the streets and rolling up our sleeves to do our part. This is our Bloomington. Together, let's create a city we want to live in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bloomington. Thank you. Thank you for your presence here and your commitment to each other and to our city. As noted by Council President Sandberg, this meeting is now adjourned. Please join in the lobby for refreshments. Thank you all again.